We deeply regret the incident that occurred last night, and our role in it. It's something that, we don't play the game in that spirit. We had our Japan game on Friday night. It was a thrilling match, 1 point loss, but played in incredibly great spirit and conduct by both teams. So last night's game was anything but that. Whilst we, accept our responsibility for our role in last night's incident, what we don't accept is the action whereby fans and officials actually get involved in the fray. And so you've all seen the social media where one of our players, Nathan Sobey, is being assaulted by a fan, and we've got Chris Goulding on a pack of players and officials prone on the court. And then we've also got a fan throwing a chair at one of our players. So we absolutely find that unacceptable. And whilst we'll be waiting for FIBA to provide us with their findings and sanctions, which I'm happy to talk about, that's certainly an issue that we'll be addressing with FIBA. Happy to take any questions.
How was Sobey and Goulding this morning, Anthony? How is their health after being involved in those?
Yeah, Greg, look, physically, our players are fine. They're, bruised and battered. We don't have any breaks and anything like that. But really, it's the mental health of our players we're absolutely concerned about. That's something that, the critical issue for us last night was making sure that, our players were safely able to leave the arena.
Was there any dramas getting out of the arena? Did you have to have beefed up security and with the hotel and everything else? What's happened around?
Yeah, look, we did. It was a significant, issue in terms of the tension in the arena. Basketball's the number one sport in the Philippines. Incredible passion. When we played them here, at Margaret Court Arena in February for the window, they made, their fans made a great amount of noise and passion that they bring. You will have seen that, in the vision, if you were watching, athletes actually and coaches stayed on the court for a considerable amount of time because that was deemed to be the safest place for our players and coaches. We were fortunate to have the Australian Embassy officials who actually hosted the ambassador at the game, and consular officials were able to assist us greatly in getting them from the court onto the team bus and to the hotel.
Can I ask you your thoughts on Kickett's action in the initial beginning of the incident?
Yeah, look, it's a challenging one to defend because that it was an unsavoury act. That's something that'll be addressed through FIBA's review. But our primary concern was the welfare for our players and what ensued thereafter. So, unfortunately, it's professional sport, and sometimes these things happen, which is a bit cliched of me to say. I acknowledge that, but really, where we get into a situation where the game actually, the fray actually spills off the court and gets spectators involved as well as match officials, that's the one that's the most concerning for us.
What were your initial emotions when you're seeing your players pinned down under multiple players copying a beating? Oh, look, it was alarming. It was, absolutely alarming when you see a congregation of players at the end of the court and you're saying, is one of our guys actually under there? As I said, I flew back from Japan and got in yesterday, so I watched it, live on TV. So I'm watching the same thing you're watching, and it was absolutely alarming to think that one of our players is surrounded by about 20 people with a significant amount of physical altercations occurring.
What ban do you expect Kickett might get, and do you expect FIBA to come down hard on the Philippines and their role in the World Cup qualification process? Yeah, so look, I can't speculate on what the sanctions will be because that's we're actually in new territory in this regard. FIBA, our international federation, will convene a tribunal. That typically happens when we're playing in World Cups or long tournaments that go for 2 or 3 weeks, and those tribunals actually occur where players are all gathered. And it's actually quite swift to be able to do that. We're in a brand new qualification window. Our players are leaving later this afternoon to fly to various ports. So convening a tribunal for FIBA will be a little bit challenging, and it is new territory. So we're very reliant on them at the moment to set that process out.
Do you suspect this was orchestrated or premeditated in any way by the Philippines? There's footage on Twitter of their coach speaking. I'm not quite sure if this is what he says. If he says, put them on their asses or something. It might, it's hard to hear on that audio, but
yeah, look, I've seen that media speculation about those comments, does that translate from, you know, a player taking a coach's action to be physically aggressive in our sport to actually, you know, going out and hitting and assaulting players? I find that a bit of a stretch. But yeah, it's certainly something that, you know, we'll be waiting to see what FIBA say through, you know, that investigation and you know, those types of comments.
What kind of consequences would you like to see?
Oh, look, from our perspective, you know, again, I'm not dodging the question, but that's somewhat premature. What we need to do is make sure we get our players home, and that's what we're working on right now. You know, we need to work through with FIBA on that interview and tribunal process to then actually determine what the outcome is right now it's in the hands of FIBA. I thought it was pretty odd to be in a position where you've been in a major altercation and then to be, you know, seemingly enjoying the moment. I found that very strange.
Do you think the game should have just possibly been abandoned completely?
Yeah, look, it's, you know, if we talk about my, you know, incredibly unspectacular basketball career, you can actually play with three. But I found it extraordinary that in those circumstances, in a tinderbox environment like that the game continued with three players.
They're hosting the 2023 World Cup.
Yep.
Am I right?
You are.
Should FIBA have a look at? Do they need the Philippines need to provide some assurances to FIBA that they can conduct that tournament safely, given the rubbish that went on last night?
I think that's absolutely no doubt that's something that, you know, the discussions between, you know, our counterparts at the PBA and FIBA will have. You know, is that an outcome of the tribunal and sanctions and findings? I don't know, but you can rest assured that discussion will happen. I've no doubt.
Would you feel safe sending the players back there at the moment if nothing was to change or to stay status quo? Would you be comfortable sending the players back?
Oh, look, we need the assurances of, you know, the PBA and FIBA, and as I said, you know, the Australian consular officials have been outstanding, so we're certainly relying on them on sentiment and what does that actually look like, and how do we feel, you know, when we look at any of our major international events where we go, you know, part of our security plans, it's a key part of what we do now.
Would you consider not playing?
Look, the ramifications of not playing are significant, and so that's something you take really seriously. I was at Cricket Australia for many years, albeit on the commercial side, and, you know, touring nations that were war torn was something that, you know, as organisations you take really seriously. That's something that, you know, our board would determine at a future point. You know, our next round of qualifications, which is the end of the first round, we've qualified for the second window. We play three of the following four teams: Kazakhstan, Qatar, Iran and Iraq. Now, Iraq we don't go to. FIBA will play that in a neutral venue. There's an expectation we go to Tehran. Socceroos have similarly done that. But that's part of our security plan that we work with DFAT and consular officials. So, you know, we need to work through what those security arrangements are. You know, those windows are September, November and February. So that's right around the corner for us. So that's certainly a question that we're asking. Last night's, you know, incident certainly elevates, you know, our awareness of security and what we actually need around to protect our players.
Was there any indication that this was going to happen before, like during the match? Because there's various reports on Twitter, and you can imagine there's a lot of chat coming out there, but Aussie players were kicking, ripping down advertising boards, anything like that?
So let me address the first part. You know, we heard the coach's comments, Filipinos' coach's comments in relation to, you know, incidents in the warm-up. You know, we absolutely refute that. It's a conversation we've had with team management. That's something that we absolutely don't believe occurred, and that will come out as part of the tribunal process that FIBA undertake. In relation to the second question that you asked, that absolutely was an incident. We had team shoot-around on the day before. Floor decals, you know, are always something that you look at. We trained, you know, had numerous players fall heavily. Our team management undertook a course of action that we actually apologised to Philippines basketball for. You know, we ripped the decals up. You know, that wasn't the smartest move we've made, and so, you know, we worked through that with Philippines basketball and FIBA. And that's, you know, if we don't have the game incident, that'd be a conversation we'd be having with FIBA about that particular process. So there's no doubt that, you know, heightened the issue, but that was more from an administrator, national federation to national federation part as opposed to players.
Anthony, so you can speak to the management and players. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What have been their emotions when you have been speaking to them about the incident?
Oh, look, the primary concern last night and I can't overstate this, and this is where, you know, the issue for us in player safety, you know, it's not a throwaway line. You know, we had our players and our team management, our coaches, in fear of their physical safety. So that's a fairly compelling set of circumstances that are we actually going to get out of here unscathed? So you know, again, working with consular officials to get us out, get us on the bus, get us to a team hotel. You know, there's a heightened sense of anxiety amongst the playing group and coaching staff where, you know, we want to get on our plane, which was, so I'm going to address, was always booked for straight after the game. These new qualifying windows, you know, we land, we train, we play, we fly out. So we're not rushing out in an emergency sense. There's a pre-booked flight and what we're on. But yeah, there's a pretty distressed playing group last night.
It might seem a little trivial, I guess, in the scheme of things, but the bench sort of being held back from going and supporting their teammates. What did you make of that? That vision's kind of distressing the boys.
Yeah.
Trying to go in and help.
So that then, you know, is the outcome of the number of players ejected from the game. Anytime there's a physical altercation on the court, if you leave the bench, player or officials to come onto the playing court, that's an automatic ejection. So, you know, it's a great credit to our coaching staff and our team management to actually hold back our players, and that's the result of 9 Filipinos being ejected and 3 of ours. The 3 of ours that were ejected were those involved in the fray on the court. It's a pretty challenging time for, you know, those athletes actually want to go out and, you know, support their teammates, you know, and they were physically restrained from doing so because of that ejection piece.
Is there any chance of like criminal action taken? Because some of the things we saw, you know, Sobi was being held by a security guard, seemingly being protected, and there's a still image of him being punched in the face, also got a chair thrown in. Any chance of these going further than just FIBA?
Look, that's premature for us to comment on this stage. We want to work with FIBA on the tribunal and get that outcome, and then we'll assess our options, you know, from there. So we have briefed our lawyers, you know, on that, as you would expect us to do as a national federation on an issue like this, but that's something we'll address in the fullness of time.
How's Chris Gould going? Like, you said mental health before. Like, can you describe what his mental status like? Because he's, you know, jumped on by a dozen.
Yeah. Look, he's, you know, I haven't spoken to our athletes. I've spoken to our team management and my chairman, who's there, and they're shaken up. You know, all the players are shaken up, and Chris in particular. You know, it's this vision of Luke Longley, our NBA legend. Taking a position of an Australian wallaby, you know, clearing a mall to actually get a significant number of people off him. That's what we were dealing with. So yeah, Chris is certainly shaken up.